love how quickly we go live on this. Good morning, everybody, or happy noon if you're on the East Coast like me. I'm Lawrence Winterman. That's Dana Dubois, my best friend, and this is the Daily Whatever Show.
How's it going, Lawrence?
Oh, it's going.
Oh, Lawrence, one thing this show makes abundantly clear to me every week is that at the start of the week, we have no fucking idea where we're going to be at the end of the week.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, isn't that just a function of living in these times?
Yes.
Donald Trump being in charge of all of our attention and entire society.
Yes. And yeah, personally, professionally, like this has just been a heck of a week.
Right, right, yeah. No, I
Um,
mean, I had literally no idea at the beginning of this week that I was going to break up with my boyfriend.
right.
But here we are.
But here we are.
Yeah.
It's another week
Womp womp.
nearly done. I'm glad to have been through it with you and all of the whatevers. And I do not, oh, there it is. Hold on. I got to come in here and say hello to everybody.
Yes, the
Hi,
chat
all.
takes forever.
It does. Thanks, Substack. It's not StreamYard. StreamYard gets up and going immediately. I'm here on a Saturday. What's going on? Oh, Yanni, just
Oh, just
Lawrence.
things in life and stuff.
You're having a
Whatever.
hard time, Lawrence. I just want to emphasize, like, we're all holding you in a lot of care right now between
Well, thanks.
breaking up with Matt and your mom's surgery coming up on Monday.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
this
it's
is,
intense. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff going on.
it,
So, you know, uh, speaking of Monday, we won't be here on Monday.
we won't be here
My
Monday.
mom is having surgery, I think, as most people know, and so I'm taking the day off. Dana decided, she'd like to sleep in on a Monday.
It was that, oh, I don't really get to sleep in much working kids, but it's more like, I don't know, respect for your mom. I just think we should take a day to all
Pray for Jane, or whatever you
pray for
do.
Jane.
Sacrifice chickens, or dance
Light
under
Dolly
the
party,
moon. I
light
was gonna
Dolly
say
party
dance under the full
candles.
moon, but that was like yesterday or the day before.
Right.
So
Okay, I'm laughing because Nick in the Paro just said Dana will not be taking a day off with a laughing face. I'm going to be on with Nick and Shane, I believe at 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern time on Monday.
oh, that's good for you. That's it's like you're getting a little bit of a reprieve. 2 hour sleep in.
Right. And I'm going to be on, we're going to be talking about my story this week, the one that's kind of making the rounds about Facebook stating AI, trying to possibly murder me by luring me into public.
Right.
Yes. I didn't have a chance to post this yesterday, but I would like to get this story to a broader audience. So I pitched it to Wire at like almost midnight on Thursday night. So it was probably a pretty bleary pitch by the end of the day. But I think I'm going to put a call out on Substack because surely people know people who are you going to say?
Are the luckiest people in the world.
Yeah. And I'm hoping to get this out to a broader audience and to see if there's some
People.
accountability. Yeah.
People who know people.
Oligarchs, people who
Yeah, we could take
love.
that in a whole different direction, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Oh, and Yanni also says, good news, Dana. 3 days later, Facebook hasn't banned me for sharing your story there. It has not
Oh,
banned me for sharing it either. We always like to share when we learn like technology tricks and hacks or at least observations. I would like to share one about Medium. If any of you folks are still out there on Medium, as I am, I have long held a theory that it made no sense to share a Medium story on social media because you only monetize on a story if it's internal traffic. So it didn't, even if you used a friend link, if it was your own friend link, it just made no sense because it was just dead. Like you'd see all this traffic come in, but none of it was monetized. So what was the point?
hmm.
And I know I haven't been paying as much attention to Medium, but they sent a mail out a month or so ago saying that they were monetizing external traffic now, that they wanted social media traffic. Um, oh, sorry, to pause on that. In the past, when I have sent traffic from my social media platforms, I was like, cool, there's stuff coming here, but it seems to squelch a boost. The at the beginning, when if you would at the same time as a boost, if I would send social media traffic, the boost would never go as far. And my theory was that it was seeing this external traffic and it was somehow messing with the algorithm,
Mm.
and it was just
Like it thought
quieting.
it had external traction and it was like, oh, I don't need to boost it because it's getting a lot of external.
Yeah, and I think the read ratio that comes in ends up being low because it's not internal people, and sometimes they wouldn't have a friend link, and so they would. I don't even know. I won't try to explain it. All I can say is that on my end, I noticed it would tank a boost.
Yeah.
And sometimes the boosts do take a few days to get going, so I will give it that caveat. But with this story, it did get boosted on Medium, much to my delight, because when things get boosted on Medium, and um, at least with my audience that I'm very proud of, it's not huge, but it's like 9,000 people, they do make some money. And this story, I posted it there before Substack. I gave it a couple days head start because it was boosted, and I posted it to my channels, and it completely tanked my boost.
Ah, so your theory is correct.
It is still correct. And I got uh it's made maybe so the big dick energy versus between date behavior story, they
Right.
also boosted that, which shocked me. That story did really well. You know what? I'm just going to toss numbers out for transparency. It's made about $450. Like
Oh,
that's
wow.
a lot for Medium. This one is at 35, and it could take off again.
Right.
It could get, like, I noticed on day one before I posted it to Facebook, which is my primary source, that it was on a really nice trajectory up, and I was like, oh, this story is going to do really well. It's about tech. You know, they love tech stories on Medium, and then it just face planted, and it's at 20 reads today. Like, I don't know if it's going to recover. I will let you all know if it does, but my advice remains: do not share a boosted story on Medium until it has done its boost,
Right.
and then
Or
share it.
you could follow my advice. Don't even fucking bother with Medium because it seems to break everybody's heart. So,
It,
I've
it
already
does
got a
break
broken
hearts.
heart. I don't need I don't need another tech platform to do it for me.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry, Lawrence.
Yeah.
Yeah, Medium does not like fiery political stories, which you
Yeah.
excel at. That is just a fact. Medium likes rip your heart out memoir stories that elevate, to some cultural conversation, and it really likes tech stories. All the top stories, I don't even understand the titles. They're so just like in the weeds of, I don't know, developer language.
Yeah.
I saw Dr. Amber Hall is here. Hi, and that she said she restacked my story. Thank you. I haven't seen that yet. I don't know if I just missed it or if you just did it. So either way, thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it. Um, it was awesome being on with Julie Roginski this week. Yeah, it was a really fun conversation with her, and Nick and Shane, I know, are going to be awesome. We're actually going live at 9:15 Pacific time Monday morning, because he has a show from 8 to 9 and wants adequate time to wrap it up and get started.
Well, I
So,
wish I could watch, but I will be in a
no,
hospital. So,
yeah, I know. No.
we should introduce
And
our guest
welcome.
today. I'm super
We've
excited.
Me too. We have your weirdo friend coming to
Woo!
join us, and I want to read their bio before we bring them on, like we're
Okay.
a professional newscast. Except I'm going to be looking this way to read because I don't have a whole
Hurry up and
studio.
do it, Dubois.
You're fine. Your weirdo friend is a community college teacher who researches women's, gender, and sexuality studies and activism oriented community storytelling. They're a community organizer and recent graduate of the Strategic Nonviolence Academy. I want to hear more about that. Weirdo is currently building a free, scalable night school that empowers people to develop and get involved in parallel systems of support in their neighborhoods. Um, yeah, that's what I've got here. They use they them pronouns, and they're coming on. Hi, weirdo.
Hi, weirdo.
Hey,
How's it going?
it's good to be here. I enjoyed the nice being in a green room and just hearing you all talk for 10 minutes. It's nice to sort of jump into the vibe. So yeah,
Yeah,
Excellent.
it's kind of a fun way to do it, where
yeah,
we kind of warm the room, so to speak, and then and then introduce you.
yeah, Yeah.
Yes. And
Well,
it
I'm glad to be
gives,
here.
we're so thrilled you're here. And you've had a busy week because I saw that you were, I think it was both this week, you were on with Nick Perro and you were on with Frederick Pogue, like two of our
Yeah.
favorite people.
Oh,
So you are a rising star here on
oh my
Substack.
gosh.
Am
Um,
I going to make you blush?
no, well, probably, but no, it's more the instinct to hide. But yeah,
Totally
I'd like,
fair.
I prefer. This is a weird moment. I feel like in a different timeline, I would be gardening and reading closed circle murder mysteries and sewing plushie dolls. So this is a weird time, right? I mean, doing community organizing projects, yes, but this was not on my bucket list. So rising
Becoming
star
a
sounds scary, but that's
Right, becoming a media personality was you say, and I can't remember which of your stories that I read, but you say, I'm not a journalist.
no.
I am not a journalist, but what we're finding here in Substack is like this, we say this over and over, like this is the future of journalism. And what's interesting is we use the word authentic a lot, like authentic voices, real voices rising up because the legacy media is failing us. They're not sharing the news or the editorial point of views that they should be sharing right now, standing up to the rise of this fascist regime. But in that reality, we are all journalists. So congratulations and welcome.
Oh Lordy. Yeah.
I think there's going to end up being some kind of new word, right? Like I think we are not in the vanguard maybe, but we're kind of like in this wave of not citizen journalist. We're going to come up with a different word, but just the idea that you have to be an engaged person, you have to be like actively paying attention and sort of reflecting the world back to itself in this modern age, or you're susceptible to Russian disinformation campaigns, like we're kind of modeling what it means to be an engaged citizen, I
Yes,
think, in the second era of Trump.
Yeah. Yeah,
a good
absolutely.
way to put it.
Yeah. And I guess for me, like I think about, as a teacher, so I teach, like women's gender and sexuality studies, but also rhetoric, right? Which is about like how we tell stories to get people to believe certain things and then to act on those beliefs. And also to help people understand how to persuade folks and not get bullshitted, right? So I came onto this space because JD Vance said, "Oh, you're the enemy of the people." And I'm like, "Well, how can I do more of what JD Vance is afraid of?" Right? So I'm
Right.
like, if I'm a community college teacher, let me widen my span of community and then do the kinds of help people make sense of the stories that are coming at them so that they can be ungaslit. So I just sort of see what I'm doing as just an extension of what I've been doing for 23 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us. So you're a teacher, as you mentioned. You're an educator, and I think of writing. And tell us more about kind of that career, and because I've read a couple of your pieces, and yeah, I'm going to stop talking.
Yeah, so I teach at a regional community college. It's like we have three buildings. I love my colleagues. I love my students. It's in a rural red area. But one of the things that I think people to take in is that like for the 8 years that I've worked, is it 8 years? I don't know. Math is hard, but I've worked there for some time. And you would have this instinct that like all of this that maybe the students coming in are entrenched in these kind of right wing views, but it's often like students who are coming to that space because they want to understand the world around them. And I think that gives me like a different perspective on like what kind of possibility there is out there. I think because I interact with not only young people, I also teach people who are older than I am, but it gives me a sense of if I'm seeing so much hope and earnestness and possibility in a rural red area that people would assume is an area that we have really crappy bifurcated red and blue, like toss out all the red areas, let's not pay attention. But there is an incredible amount of agency in even small red communities. And so I think for me, that has always given me a lot of hope. And I'm the only out trans non-binary professor in an 8 campus system. And that comes with a lot of, risks And it also comes with a lot of gifts of being able to be a mentor to marginalized students who, when I didn't necessarily have that. And so
Right.
I just really love what I do there. Yeah.
I
That's amazing. I resonate with that a lot. I'm an out gay man living now in a very red part of the country, and I do a show with our friend Fusen on Fridays called Dirty Talk, where we're just sort of talking about sexuality in real terms, and it's the kind of conversation that absolutely was not available to me in the 80s as I was growing up and coming out, or wanting to come out and not coming out. So yeah, I think that's amazing that you have, like you said, the risks and gifts, and that one of the gifts is being able to kind of model, like, hey, you can be different and be okay.
Yeah, yeah. Recently, I mean, like to wit, like, uh, so there was this, and you never can know in teaching too. So like there was a student who I just received an email from this year. I had this student like 4 years previously, and she emailed and she's like, I was a homeschooled person. I was really resistant in your class. I don't think you remember that necessarily, but I just want you to know you're the first trans person that I'd ever seen. And even though it was a writing class, you helped me understand that it was possible to be a trans adult. And I gave myself permission to be like who I am instead of being unhappy and causing myself so much trouble and hostility that I was projecting outward. And honestly, that student wasn't a problem in my class. It's just it, I think they were experiencing some kind of like dissonance inside of themselves. But those are a regular part of my experience, and you never know when you plant a seed. And even what you're doing, you never know the seeds that you can plant with people, because
Yeah.
for so many people, I think possibility begins with telling stories, you know? And
yes.
so I think that you're doing really important work, right? To open the space to give people the ability to talk about desire, to talk about sexuality, and to do that without shame in a very puritanical society, or at least the enforced puritanical
Yeah.
society. Right? I don't think we're very puritanical at all. I think it's just that white Christian nationalists are very good at projecting this kind
Right.
of,
Right. Convincing us
lens.
that we're supposed to be puritanical, even while they themselves are raping children, for example.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, which explains everything about the mechanism of control that they do. Because if you spend so much time looking at gay people and trans people as a danger to children, you don't have to look at the fact that 1 in 4 kids assigned female at birth, 1 in 6 kids assigned male at birth are sexually assaulted in their childhoods.
Yep.
You don't have to look at the Epstein sex trafficking sort of situation. You don't have to look at that current lawsuit that says that Donald Trump is apparently have been involved in something identical to that, right?
Yep.
So it's very, and I mean, using marginalized people as scapegoats for powerful people's sins is like a tale as old as time,
Right.
right? Which
Yeah.
is why, again, I like to focus on stories, because when you can offer a clear story to people, it helps orient them, and they're like, oh shit, yeah. And then it's harder for them to be gaslit.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. I want to read one comment from the chat from Tracy Joseph, who not a new name to me. Hi Tracy, welcome. It says, I'm cis female and I can't imagine how under attack our LGBT community must feel right now. The DOJ just announced no special protection for trans prisoners, just profoundly cruel. Every day it feels like there's a new atrocity being launched. And that's why two thoughts on that. One is it's one of the reasons that Lawrence and I love to elevate voices like yours, trans folks, minority folks, anybody who needs to get their story out because they are under such persecution. And I want to talk about something you wrote to me when we were messaging back and forth about coming on the show. You teach virtually, was
Mm-hmm.
what you had said,
Yes.
for safety reasons, not for health
Yes.
reasons. Are you comfortable talking about what that's been like for you, what the support you've received from your school has been like? Because that like took my breath away when I read it.
Well, I am I'm nervous, but I think I can.
Okay.
So yes, so As I said, I'm the only out trans person and the only transgender studies professor on an 8 campus system. And part of my job, because of I'm the only one, means I get to field all of the complaints around from students who are trans or who are trans allies who are like, hey, this transphobic thing is going on. And as a part of that advocacy, I ended up in a federal lawsuit that is
Oh,
been denied by the appellate court, and is we're either going to pursue it to the Supreme Court or not. But it is leaving me in a pretty intense space. My own campus that I'm at, who works with me every day, they have been very kind and supportive, and have been trying to allow me to stay online, especially in the state of Ohio, where uh, they're making you publish who basically in the state of Ohio, you not only know my teaching schedule now, but like where I am on campus at certain times, which is a very dangerous place to be just
Sure.
as a trans person, but also as a trans person in a federal lawsuit. To advocate for trans students makes it especially difficult.
oh my
My
God.
main campus, when I try to appeal to them and be like, hey, like this is a matter of safety, granted, I am suing my main campus for discriminating against, trans students, and then me in the process of trying to advocate for them. And I was like, hey, like, this was before Trump came in. And I was like, hey, like, this is really unsafe. Like, I don't want to be in danger. And they're like, yeah, sorry. No, you're going to have to figure that out. So I may actually be fired here soon for not going on campus because my main campus is trying to sort of push me out. And
Wow.
the sad piece is that before Trump squatted in the Oval Office, the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division and the Department of Education's Equal Opportunity Office were going to file amicus briefs on behalf of our case because it was so egregious. So it's been a situation where I've been in a holding pattern of scapegoating and intimidation and deep stalking by my university for a really long time,
Wow.
and it's not great. But would I choose to do it again? Yes, because I needed to be the safe adult in the room for trans students. And when they come to me and say, hey, this is a problem that I'm experiencing in my classroom, I have to leverage the privilege that I have to take care of my students. So,
Oh
I'm so
gosh.
sorry that's happening to you,
Yeah.
and also so thankful that you are handling it with such grace and bravery. Like that really should be celebrated, because it's
thank
so
you.
hard, and you're obviously doing it at personal risk and personal cost, right? Up to and possibly including losing your job.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I also had Christian nationalists outside of my house, so I'm no longer living in the place where I was living
Oh
because I'd already.
God.
So the danger that I anticipated before Trump came into office found me, and so that kind of ran us. So I mean, like it's it's been pretty intense. So I'm not even living in my home space. I had to sort of fall back to a secondary safe location because my neighbors started to notice that Christian nationalists were,
Wow.
outside the house and watching it. Yeah, this is a fucked up time.
It really is. Yeah. And
Is
I'm your neighbor in Indiana, which is, as weird and fucked up as Ohio. Apparently, they decided they are in fact voting to change our change our maps, which is making me furious and is a different topic. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
I
if you're
used to live in
comfortable
Indiana.
sharing, like, what are you doing to kind of keep yourself safe? Like, I mean, I guess I'm trying to imagine what would I do in this situation, and is it like driving different? Like, do you have to think about where you're going to, like, go to the grocery store, or how pervasive is the intrusion into your life?
Oh my gosh. Well, the thing is that I can't necessarily know. I mean, what I do know is that on page 5 of Project 2025, it says that people who teach gender ideology will
Hmm.
be jailed for sex crimes, right,
Right.
as sex
yes.
offenders,
Yeah.
because they're trying to pin on us the kind of harm that they engage in with women and children, right?
Yep.
And so I'll be honest and say that eventually part of my journey in trying to keep myself safe is going to be, getting a phone where I can wipe it of de-Google it or de-Apple it and put on a Linux system, do the same thing with my computer so that I'm less able to, be surveilled. But it also does mean, making sure that I am connected to my community, and also just recognizing that I may have to run again, depending, because I'm not going to make myself available for capture from Christian nationalists. I actually did my dissertation work studying the intersection of teaching around Christian nationalism and LGBT studies, like what to do when Christian nationalists sort of interrupt spaces with hate speech, and how to de-escalate that. So I am very aware of the kind of violence that Christian nationalists want to enact on queer and trans people, and I'm not going to make myself available to that. But I'm going to
Wow.
keep on speaking out too. Like I'm not going to just duck people,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to make myself
Oops.
available to that.
Sorry, I don't know how my sound just came back on like that. My apologies.
No, it's all right.
I was
Right.
actually trying to open up someone else new to at least to new name for me. Madam Power said we relocated from Nebraska to build our own compound and create a safe training place for LGBTQIA plus. And Mason weighed in with instant follow, and so I was just going to follow you, and it somehow, yeah, I shouldn't divide my attention so much. I will follow after,
Okay.
but wonderful work that you're doing there. And yeah, I didn't realize the extent of it when I asked that question, and I'm just sitting here like, holy shit.
Yeah,
That's my only response is, you're so brave. And
I appreciate you saying that I'm brave, because I often am like, I should have stayed in my house and said, let them get me. And then my friends were like, no, dummy. Like, like no, like,
yeah,
but so, but I do feel a lot of grief right now. I mean, like the grief is really palpable, in terms of not being connected to my home and my neighborhood and all of the work that I had been doing there. It was really heartbreaking, but also the surveillance and the harassment that happened to me was like right around before Easter, before people were really even processing what was happening and being able to really recognize it.
Mhm.
And so there really wasn't like a sense of like community preparedness. And I had to make a value judgment and realize, oh shit, like there is no community strategy here. So I would
Right.
say one thing that I always say to, in my own writing is, it's really, really good for neighborhoods to develop like community safety plans to protect your vulnerable neighbors, and to develop like situations so that when you do have vulnerable neighbors who are experiencing trouble, that there is a network of support so that they don't necessarily have to be uprooted.
That's
Yeah.
such a good point.
I
You're
love that.
really, I'm having kind of like a mild flashback to election night, right? When we kind of realized, oh my God, he's gotten elected again.
Right.
And I had a full, not embarrassed to admit, I had a full on meltdown. Like I was weeping and banging the table and screaming at my family and kind of like, we've got to get out of here. We got to, because I had a very palpable sort of, I don't know, grief reaction or shock reaction of like, they're coming for us, right? Like I'm a gay dude in Indiana, and and Jewish, and if you search not particularly hard online, you could probably find racy videos of me. Like, oh my God, I'm on the list. And and then I kind of calmed down and I was like, no, fuck this. I am going to live my life and I'm going to speak up. And if they come for me, they come for me. But I'm going to say everything that I need to say, and try to at least help build a movement that can stand up against fascism. So I'm really inspired by what you're doing, because you're putting a level of thought and planning into it that is um, not what I did, shall we say?
Yeah, it's so interesting. Right after he was elected, I went and read Project 2025 with a similar control find lens to yours, I'm sure, because I run a publication on Medium. It's gone pretty quiet because of what's going on, I think, called Pink Hair and Pronouns, and it's for parents of gender and not gender nonconforming kids. My own child went through a gender journey a few years back and is kind of at this point back to the using she her pronouns, and but these stories stuck, and I knew enough to know, oh, this could get me on a list. This could get me in trouble. And so I just did a control find on the word trans, and boy, it is all over that document. And it does say writing about it or teaching about it, any kind of education like that is considered pornography, and pornography punishable by a prison term. And at the time, I'm a boost nominator on Medium. And so we had a Slack channel where the CEO was accessible, Tony Stubblebine. And I was like, Tony, so, I have this publication, there's Prism and Pen, like there's a bunch of Medium historically has been very LGBTQ plus friendly, which is part of why I put the publication there, because there are guardrails. If someone came in with raging transphobic comments, they would get booted off the platform. I was like, is this a risk? And he was very kind and very like, I don't know the answers. None of us definitively do, but ultimately I can't protect you.
Yeah.
Like your name, your legal name is here because it's linked to your Stripe account. Stripe also owned by a Republican billionaire oligarch. And I couldn't protect you. And so I debated taking it down. And then ended up being like, no, like white cis woman, privilege. And so instead, Lawrence and I were like, how about if we come on air every day and get ourselves even more likely every day to get on that list? What was that new list they published? I think that was just last week, wasn't it? Or was it
right?
like
The
this
media
week?
offenders or something.
Yeah, the White House media offenders list.
I would like to wear that. Like, let's get those crowns. Let's be royalty on the.
Oh my God.
media.
If we get on that list, I'm so getting a tiara from Fierce Drag Jewels and like wearing it on my head, and I'm just White
Right?
House media offender, fuck you.
Yeah, I just put a link in the comments. I did post this story on Substack and Medium, but it first ran on a publication here in Seattle called Parent Map. And I want to shout them out because it was like a goal to get published in Parent Map with some of this pink hair and pronouns oriented content. And I had been back and forth with the editor about writing a piece. And the election happened and I just froze. Right. And we both like kind of looked at each other and were like, what can we do? And I wrote this story that I shared because I happened to be in the clinic at Seattle Children's that services adolescents with my older daughter. It was just a checkup. It was not focused. She's not on a gender journey, but that's where the kids go who are on gender journeys. And I was in that office waiting room when the first executive order coming after kids. And so I wrote this story and I sent it to Parent Map instead of what we were going to write. And I was like, you probably won't run this. And she said, I'm not editing a word. And she ran it.
That's excellent.
And I thought it was so brave because it's a regional publication, but it's been around like 30 years. And it's traditionally the place when you have little kids where you like look at the print one to see what activities were going on. And I don't know where to send them to camps, fun places to hike with your kids. But especially online, they're starting to have more interesting parent-focused content, and that they were willing to run this story about the care I saw the caregivers give these kids and their families, and the struggle that these families had been through, and like the wonderful care that they've given my daughter on a different topic, but how that these trans and non-binary kids deserved that same care.
Yeah.
And that it was going to get yanked away, or that these folks could be like potentially prosecuted for the work they were doing.
Right.
So I don't want to claim that my risk is anywhere near yours is, because it's not. And also like 3 cheers for the 3 of us, all these months in shouting, I hope you're safe. If you're ever in real danger right now, I have an empty basement apartment at my house here in very blue Seattle. So get over here and you can come live here.
That's very kind. In fact, I want to say too, like, I'm really hoping that people are thinking about resources like their basement bedroom or their finished, whatever it is, because I think that we are going to have to think about how we can like onboard the people in our communities into secondary safe locations. So I appreciate you making that offer. And I hope that a lot of people are thinking about that, because sometimes when you think about the enormity of this situation, you think there's nothing that I can do. But sometimes like having a spare bedroom could save somebody's life,
Right.
right?
Right.
It's I'm like, my house is tragically not that large. It needs to be. I need. I mean, we were halfway kidding about, not kidding about. We were highlighting the compound here. Like, I'm being a little blithe if my house isn't big enough, but we have, Madam Power here is like, I'm building a compound, and it doesn't, like, it feels crazy to think we would need that, and also completely normal at this, or not normal, but completely accurate that we might need it. So, I don't actually think, I'm looking for the version of this on Substack, and all I can find is the version of me reading the story on Substack.
Well, Weirdo, I know that, so the title that we kind of put for today was solidarity and agency, and I know
Yeah.
those are concepts that are really important to you. Could you kind of introduce to the chat sort of what you mean when you say that?
Yeah, for sure. I think that, yes, and I'm going to do it by not answering the question. I'm going to do it in a roundabout way.
Okay,
So I'm not
Do
going
I
to use
love
the
it.
word solidarity or agency to talk about this, but it's going to loop in the sort of emotional current that we had, where we talked about, what happened when Trump found himself in the office again, and
Hmm.
our emotional responses and our fear around that. And one of the things that I am seeing people, so again, I teach stories. So this is coming from a lens of stories. I'll hear, like today, there was a piece that, a small little post that somebody did that said, Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva approached ICE and said, hey, like, I'm concerned about what's happening here. And this ICE agent pepper sprayed her. And they said, this is fascism. And one of the things that I like to encourage people to do is to, like, think about, maybe not right now, but whenever they have a private moment, to, like, sit down and think about how their body feels when they say the word fascism, and what stories are connected to it, what body sensations, what memories, what kind of emotions, and just sit with that. And also ask yourself, like, what that word fascism sort of, like, inspires you to do. Because I think in a lot of us, it inspires a kind of freeze response, like the enormity of fascism, what can I do, right? But one of the reasons why, and I'm also a survivor of childhood domestic abuse. And so one of the things that I try to help people to understand is that fascism is really domestic abuse at scale.
Mm.
They try to control your money. They can try to control
Yes.
what you say, where you go, what you read, where you can spend your money. Uh, they intentionally target vulnerable populations. I won't go through the entire thing, but there's this thing called the Duluth model, which is, and they created this thing as a domestic violence organization that's called the Wheel of Power and Control, to help abuse survivors to understand what domestic violence looks like. And the reason why I say that is because when you shift from talking about fascism to talking about domestic abuse, and you say domestic abuse, the same thing, think about the feelings that you have, the emotions you have, and the memories, you're probably going to feel angry as fuck and be like, I have experience of this. I know what this looks like, and I know I can help. And the thing is, the antidote to domestic abuse is the same antidote to fascism, which is engaged neighbors. You take away their ability to target the vulnerable,
Mm.
because that's how they're
Mm.
scaring everybody else, is by trying to snatch at the vulnerable so that they can terrorize the rest of us. So literally, by being in solidarity with your vulnerable and targeted neighbors and removing the ability for those neighbors to be harmed, make it as hard as hell for that to happen, right? That is the solidarity piece. And then the agency piece is be like, all right, let's look at all these things that these fascist abusers are trying to take away from us in terms of housing and healthcare and safety and all of these other things and hope. And how do we give those to each other? And so that's the agency part. And part of the reason why I do that is because fascism as a story is, like, very arresting. And I also, again, because I'm an English professor, a writing professor, a gender studies professor, I want people to think about how all we have learned about fascism tells us that the military rescues us from fascism. We have a $1 billion industry in this country that has told us that, like, it's
Yes.
cops and soldiers who can free us from fascism. And so what they didn't do, like, if the United States wanted to stop fascism, which is power hoarding, they would have, one, made in diversity, equity, and inclusion, like a starting point to begin with, because fascism
It's,
grows through division. And also, in addition to that, they would have educated the community on what is called civilian defense, which is like how people use regular community members use nonviolent means to not cooperate with fascist invaders and to mass cooperate with each other. Like there's actual material to do that, but our government never wanted us to necessarily have that kind of literacy, because it is actually, and to think about who writes those stories, right? Like it's all these billionaires who are hoarding power, who are like pumping
yes.
this story that we are so small in relationship to power, but guns and money are the weakest forms of power that exists. And once we start to move ourselves outside of that story, we realize that we have an incredible amount of agency, and that there have been $1 million campaigns over decades to teach us that we do not have any power and we can't exercise it collectively. So I'm kind of here to change the narrative, and so much of the stuff that I write is around that. That was probably too long of an answer,
It
but
was absolutely not.
No,
It was so fucking perfect and enthralling. And oh my fucking God, I'm Team Weirdo.
yes, I'm looking at the timestamp and I'm like, we need to go back and manually grab that entire clip
Right.
and make
Yes,
a
that
short
is.
for it, which we never do because
Yeah, I'm gonna
time.
print that on a flag and wave it as a giant banner. Like that was so good.
It also got me thinking. So Lawrence and I have been scheming schemes for 2026 of like, okay, well, 2025 is about just jumping in and starting, and like, how do we want to more mindfully grow this community and all those things. And one of the things that's come up is like maybe hosting a monthly, like a writers group, a small group of people. Like you say, I'm not a journalist. I'm not a journalist either. I'm a memoirist. Like I'm a storyteller as well. And I was like, oh my God, we should do this together and have it be like to tell your story as a form of changing the world.
yes.
Because yes, people, like, you can report all the facts and data points all day long, and people can look at them and be like, oh yeah, that's bad. That's bad. But when you hear it as a personal story, it hits differently. And that's something that the right has done very well over the years,
Mhm.
is use these cultural touch points to move the political narrative. And it's something that that our side of the aisle has been very bad at.
I agree with you. I think that technocrats, which is what I would like have called the sort of
Democrats.
I think the Obama campaign was really emotional and really
Yeah,
hopeful,
they were the last ones who were good.
but the governance itself, I think we started to see the setting in of trust the technocrats, trust us, those with the policy, trust, that we know how to do these things. And so they come in with the facts and the data, and they're like, and this is happening, and this is true, and this is false. But the thing is that, and I say this again as somebody who is an English professor who studies rhetoric in particular, the thing that I always try to impress upon my students is that it doesn't matter how logical your facts are and how cleanly they line up one against the other. If there is not also an emotional undercurrent to what you are saying, it is not going to make an impact.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah.
I love rhetoric. If I could, like, I've only learned it in my later years now of like, oh, if I could go back in time and pick a college major, like I would have absolutely majored in rhetoric. I didn't know that was an option. I didn't know that was a thing. But the burned haystack dating method, Jenny Young, I don't know if you follow her at all, but like she's a PhD in rhetoric, and it's a feminist view of online dating and how to identify rhetorical patterns to save you a lot of time of meeting, like not giving men a chance, essentially, because they're outing themselves with their rhetorical patterns more than what
Yes.
they're saying. And it's so nerdy, but it's the nerdiness that makes it amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, let the storytellers take the reins, because the technocrats, I like technocrats and billionaires. Like,
Billionaires.
I
Nice.
didn't coin that. I've heard it a couple times now, and I think those two words together,
That's
the
real.
word, yeah,
And
the word
venture capitalists, I like as a to talk about the venture capitalists who are
Right.
really trying to monetize every aspect of our lives, right? They're
yes.
their own billionaires. Yeah.
And both Dr. Hull and I in the chat put in quotes and wrote, fascism is domestic violence at scale. Like, that's the kind of line that just like resonates and hits. Like Lawrence Prince t-shirts has a t-shirt side
Yeah, no,
hustle.
that is definitely a t-shirt for sure.
That's
Yeah.
I've never, like, I have equated it when I look at Donald Trump. I see echoes of my dad, who was verbally abusive. They're very similar looking and sounding, but I've never connected that. Yeah,
It's
it's the
yeah,
same
yeah.
thing, just bigger.
Yeah, and that's so important to understand too, because like when you think about fascists, you think, oh, they must know all the things and they must have all of this power. But when you think about domestic abusers, you're like, these are weak ass men who do stupid shit and
Right.
who are relying on people
Yes.
turning their head the other way to get away with the shit that they do, right? And so it also helps you see them in different light, right? Like we already see it. Like you can't look at the people who are in power right now and think these are people with actual power, these are people with knowledge. No, they're just abusers who got to where they are because didn't they broke the rules, and they're shocking people who have been programmed to go along a certain way, and so they're flipping the script so that nobody people are struggling to figure out a way to respond with people who are breaking rules and breaking laws and gaslighting, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you start to see these are not intellectual geniuses, these are not all powerful people, you can start to see your agency in a way when you shift from fascism to domestic abuser, and you see how fucking pathetic these people are.
And I think we've kind of seen that, like, the veil kind of has slipped a little bit recently because whatever is happening with Donald Trump and his health and his mental health, like, clearly something is happening. And I think we've started to kind of see the man behind the curtain a little bit,
Mm.
and that it really is just like these negativity scripts that he kind of keeps repeating over and over. And, life has taught him that if he repeats these things and he can gaslight people and get his way. And, but it's almost like an automaton, right? Like there's just this, greatest hits of ways to gaslight and oppress. And if one doesn't work, he like plugs in the next one, and we're seeing them sort of slip out in the wrong order, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
because he's losing his mind or whatever is happening with him. So it's such a fascinating thing to think about. And when you walked us through when you think of fascism, what do you feel in your body? And as a Jewish person, uh, fascism is obviously terrifying, but there is some of that. There's that anger in there as well. But then, kind of thinking about domestic violence, you're right. It is immediately like fuck that guy. Like nobody's going to be allowed to beat up on women or children or men, right? Like no one gets to kind of beat people up and gaslight people like that. So yeah, it's really powerful framing.
Thank you. Please take it and run with it and share, like literally share it with everybody that you know. Like it's just not. I am sure that I am not the first person to say this. It's just that my job as an educator is always to take things that are really complicated and really scary and break them down in ways that are simple, less scary, and more approachable. So I'm like, how do I do that at a larger scale? And I feel like once we can become bigger than our fear. I mean, I think our fear is important because it teaches us what's important,
Hmm.
but becoming bigger than our fear and then moving to fuck that shit, you're not going to do this.
Right.
It's really galvanizing, right? To know that shit, I do have agency, and you don't have to do every little piece. There are so many things that these domestic abusers are trying to take away from us, and the answer is to give back to us what they're taking. So if you took that wheel of power and control that the Duluth model came up with, and then you drew a different version that sort of looked like a flower, and you're like, how can we give each other back safety? How can we give each other back freedom? How can we protect the vulnerable? Like literally like creating a more beautiful pattern. That's how we get out of this.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love it. So you've probably, I don't know if you're following along with the chat.
I can't see the chat. I wish I could.
It's okay. We always set up, so we've got monitor here and phone here for talking. Chat loves you.
Oh,
I will capture it and send it to you over after this is done if you would like. There's been a lot of cheering on of what you're doing, a lot of hearts flying by. Excuse me, and I want to read this comment by Amber Fritz. Going through domestic violence counseling certification training right now, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately. So grateful for this conversation reaching more people. That's a lot of it is that people are like, we want to like, please elevate this message, and just folks taking a lot of comfort and what you're saying here. Oh my gosh. And while I was saving that comment, a bunch more came in. Mason is calling for a group chat. Yeah, maybe we hardly use our group chat function in Substack. It's just one of those things that falls off, but maybe we could start one and be like, this is, I don't know how you form a group one between people. Like if we wanted to have one with Weirdo, I'm not sure how that works, but we could look into it. Yes, can I have the chat too, Dana? I'm not sure. Can I have the chat too? Let me know what you mean by that, Mason. I'm not entirely sure,
Oh,
but
Mason means you said you were going to scrape the chat and send it to Weirdo, and I think Mason is saying that
oh,
she wants it too.
message me. So Substack doesn't keep the live chat when they share the recap.
It doesn't.
Wow. Do you see this stuff coming through in Seattle in winter? What? I think it's what's that word again? That big, I'm kidding. It's not that unsunny here, but it is the gray time of year. But it's a bit of a glare. Let me do that. We Seattleites make jokes in the winter when it's sunny. 'Cause it's gray here most of the time. Lawrence knows that. Yeah, Substack, we wish would keep the live chat so that when we share the recap, people can see the
Same.
conversation, because we're having two simultaneous conversations that one of us, Lawrence, usually one of us takes kind of the lead on keeping track of what's going on in the chat so we can elevate these voices. But when the recap comes on, it's lost. So Lawrence and I manually tend to cut and paste it and just save it. So we have an archive if there's ever anything we need to reference. And yeah, if you ever want a copy, just ping me and
I would love it. Yeah, I would love to
or just
see.
you over email. Like we have to
Yeah.
resort to email because Substack is failing at this. Hey, Substack developers,
Right.
like it's already here. How hard is it to just preserve it when you do the recap?
I'm sure
Right. They
they're
could be
much
just
more
comments on the live,
Yeah.
right?
honestly, right? Wouldn't it be so much fun to watch the live and see what people were commenting on at that moment in time?
Yeah, it would be fun for me. And when I've done lives, I always get so sad, and I try to encourage folks when I'm doing lives to come back to the video and share your comments. But I mean, I know that it's hard, especially because I think a lot of people interact and with through Substack through notes to navigate Substack. So I think some of them don't always go back to people's like individual pages necessarily to do that. But I always appreciate when they do. I do have people who do that, and I appreciate them.
I bet you do. Yeah, Linnea is saying, as someone who has to watch the weekday daily whatever shows after the fact, I would love the chat to be saved.
Right.
Right? It's a decent chunk of the story, and I don't know that many podcasters are as involved in the live chat as we are, but to us, it's like that's how we're building a community here. So
Right.
please, Substack. It seems like a really easy solution. So
Weirdo, we're somehow amazingly coming up on the top
oh
of the
my,
hour. I feel like we've only just started talking to you. But
I
we ask a question of everybody the first time that they're on the show. And Dana, do you want to ask our infamous question?
yes. Hold on. I'm writing back to Linnea here. She said, I heard that you can go live from your laptop now. And Nick told me that yesterday, but I haven't tried it yet. Apparently, though, Lawrence, we can go live from laptops, which
Indeed, you can.
might motivate
Any
me.
computer, not just a laptop.
Well, sorry. I mean, it doesn't have to be on your phone.
Yeah.
I think laptop is like, I think of it as synonymous with just computer now, because I don't know who's carrying around a giant. Anyways, you know what I mean. It doesn't have to be on your phone. The question, this is a hard hitter. You ready?
Okay. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Our publication is Gen XE. I don't think you are Gen X, but I'm still interested in your opinion on this. What is the most Gen X song of all time?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. All right. So I'm 46. So I was born in 1979. So I'm actually the
Oh,
youngest Gen Xer.
You are.
wow.
Yeah.
We need to talk skincare products after the
Just
show.
just a little bit, just a little baby Gen Xer, right? In the sense that when I so that for instance, like, you know, when I would sing like a brand new pair of I forget the name of the song now, but you know, when I would do like Crocodile Rock or just different 70s songs, and people are like, how the hell do you know Brandy? Why are you singing that at karaoke? You're too young for this shit. I'm like, no, I'm not. The most Gen X thing, so you said, repeat it again, the most Gen X
Song of all time. Like
song of all
when
time.
a
Okay.
song that would resonate with and like speaks Gen X to you.
Oh my God. You know, there are so many. And I feel like, why You know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna go with it. There are so many. Like I have
Yes.
a few Cars songs in my head, but I'm not gonna go with that. So, but I
Good
want
pick
to.
though.
Oh, you
But
could.
I think Jefferson Starships, We Built This City might
Oh.
be for me.
Yes.
I feel like that's it. I feel like for me,
Oh, knee deep in the hoopla.
Y-
yeah.
there's definitely like a weird sort of like techno optimism to that song that is very much of that moment that that it came out.
Yeah.
You are so, yes, that is so Gen X.
We built
Yeah.
this city.
And
That
Right.
song
also,
has no
yeah,
hips. Like there's
yeah,
nothing to dance to. It's just like meh, meh, meh,
Right.
meh. Yeah.
which is how Gen X dances. No, I'm just kidding. That's not true.
Sometimes.
I don't dance, but no, like I think also, right, like that song and a lot of the songs were like Gen X has known the entire time that we were getting screwed over, but there's this kind
Oh yeah.
of gritty fuck you and optimism that we can do better that I think is a hallmark of Gen X.
Yes.
Yes. I've never quite God, that was a very succinct sum up of Gen X of like we know we're getting fucked and we're sort of whatever, but there's a weird optimism underneath it all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That it's all kind of I'm not a fan of that song, and yet I know every word.
Right.
exactly.
And you're
Right.
completely right. It's iconic for our
Yeah,
generation. What is that, like 1985, I'm guessing? Hold on, I gotta look it up.
Yeah.
yeah,
I just kind of thought about this, Weirdo, as you were saying it, that like kind of what we're going for is the,
1985.
if we were making a movie, like what song would you play like in the cutscene that would instantly ground the audience in this is Gen X. Like this is that weird moment in the like mid 80s that and that's a perfect one, right?
yeah, yeah.
Because
I
who
mean, and
remembers it other than Gen X?
exactly, exactly. I mean, I feel like if we're talking about my favorite though, I feel like do you remember, and I don't remember the band, but it was a famous video, Take on Me. Do you
Oh
remember
yeah.
that
Uh-huh.
song?
Yeah.
That feels super Gen X to me and
Yes.
so
Yes.
many. So I could go on and on, but I won't because you just asked for one and I just gave you
No,
the
you can
first
go
one.
I
on.
mean, we love
Yeah.
music. You could literally do as many
Yes.
as you
And
want.
the band is Aha,
Aha, that's it. Yeah.
Norwegian. He's still gorgeous. The
Excellent.
Morton, whatever his name is. Yeah, that song was so impactful because they were one of the earliest bands to use MTV as something other than like a recording of a live, video. They took it, the artistry of it, and they made
Yeah.
something kind of singular. Like I've never seen anything that
Right.
got anywhere close to
Because
the
if
beauty of
anyone
that
ever
video.
did it again, they'd be like, "Oh, well, that's just a ripoff of the Aha Take on Me video."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it was so
Yes.
iconic and sort of its own kind that anything else would clearly be derivative of that one thing.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So quintessentially Gen X. I love it. And you mentioned the Cars. I don't think anyone has ever said the Cars before, but they are such a pivotal Gen X band.
Yes.
Yeah.
They went from being kind of a new wave, like late 70s vibe into becoming a very 80s, not quite arena rock, but like pop rock band.
Yeah.
Which Cars songs were you thinking? I love the
Oh my
Cars.
gosh. As when I was, because like I'm a nugget in the Gen X group,
Yes.
but I remember, do you know the song "You Might Think I'm Crazy"? I don't even
Yeah.
know what
You might
the
think.
name is.
It's just
You might
called You Might
think.
Think. Yeah.
I would sing that. I would be, failing at the lyrics in the back of my parents' Gremlin AMC Gremlin while they were driving me to school, and my mom would
Yeah.
like turn around and be like, "Why do you keep on just singing? You might think I'm crazy." But as all I knew, I was, just a little kid. But that one always makes me smile just because I remember this, vivid moment, driving on Mole Avenue with my mom on the way to, some grocery store. And she's like, "Don't you know any of the other words?" And I'm like, "No."
I do
So,
not, Mom. I feel like the songs that you learn in the back seat of your parents' cars are the ones that will always hit the hardest.
real.
I was just having a conversation with a friend that like my first backseat car love, and I think you're too young to remember this one, is Undercover Angel by Alan O'Day.
Yeah.
You Undercover Angel, Midnight
Midnight
Fantasy.
Fantasy.
I
I'm
never
gonna look it
had
up.
a dream that made sweet love to me. It was very 70s. The song premise is completely creepy. It's about a guy who has met who he thinks is the woman of his dreams, and he's explaining to her how he's had this undercover angel who comes to him every night and presumably has sex with him. It's all 70s euphemism. Well, no, it's not. I never had a dream that made sweet love to me. It's pretty blunt. And he's telling her that she tells him, go find the right one, love her, and then when you look in her eyes, you'll see me again. So he's telling her, I think you might be the right one. And the song ends with, I'm looking for my angel in your sweet loving eyes. The 70s were so weird.
That is
That
so
was-
real. That is so real. And it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
So that's like that is a boomer song because it was popular in like 78, I think. But as the little kid in the back seat, that one and Afternoon Delight, two very inappropriate songs lyrically for me to be singing.
There are
The
so
cars,
many in the boomer
yes,
generation that are just so like really kind of normalizing, like really demonstrating why we're at where we're at now. If you look at the songs of that generation that like
yes,
really normalized a lot of predatory behavior just through pop culture, right? Just stuff that, you know, it's like, she was only 16. Okay, fuck, then let it go.
Right.
You know, she's not for you, babe. Like it's
Oh,
just
so true.
It's so
I've,
true.
I've tried to explain to my, like, first I will say, like, the music and the art of the era matters.
right.
The movies, the TV shows, all of it. But I should republish this. My older daughter turns 18 in January. When she turned 17, I was like, there are a lot of songs about being 17. Why? And I was like, oh, because you're on the cusp of adulthood, but legal adulthood, but not quite there.
Right.
And so we made a Spotify mix of all these songs about being 17. And some of them are lovely coming of age songs. There's a Phoebe Bridgers, Taylor Swift one. They mostly talk about being 18, but there's a nod to being 17 in it. That's really beautiful about the like awareness of the power of being young as a woman and how it's going to fade. But oh my God, I put Winger's 17 on there. Do you remember that song? She's only 17. The refrain is, her daddy says she's too young, but she's old enough for me. It's so gross.
Jesus,
And
the offense.
yes,
Oh.
and so we were listening on the way into school, driving, rocking out, and my daughter was like, what that, and plus it's like very 80s, like, you know, and I knew
Yeah.
every word, of course, and she was like,
Yeah.
what are we listening to? And I was like, the influences of my coming of age music.
Yeah, and I mean, even like, there's the
Ugh.
other one. What is it? Girl, you'll be a woman soon. What the
Yes.
fuck, man?
Right. Right.
Yes, Neil Diamond. That was Neil Diamond.
Wait, was
Like-
that Neil
Originally.
Diamond or Tom Jones?
Neil Diamond wrote it, and then Urge Overkill made it Gen X famous briefly. And I think that was in Pulp Fiction, wasn't it?
Oh man.
Girl, you'll be a woman soon.
Yeah.
It's a really good song, but then you listen to it and you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, we also have like a Christmas song about like getting someone drunk and trying to ply them to
Baby,
stay
it's-
at your house,
Right,
right?
baby,
Baby,
it's
it's
cold
cold outside.
Like we have like a lot of yikes on bikes popular culture, you know,
Oh
songs.
God.
Yeah. And it's worth talking about too. Like why we need new ones, first of all, new songs, but yeah.
Yeah, and you know, the 17 playlist did make it clear that the better ones were later.
Yeah, the better ones
The more
were later.
evolved ones. I put that story on Substack, like it was one of the first ones. I think like 3 people have seen it. Maybe I'll reshare it because it was so and I can put a link to the playlist in there because actually one of the best songs on there is a very early song, but it's by Janice Ian, I think is her name.
On the Edge of 17?
No, that's Stevie Nicks, and that's a song about her seducing a boy.
Oh
So
shit.
not good, but it's
Not
all euphemism in that one, right? It's all like you have to get to the bridge where it's like, I was born with an age-old desire. Like she's seducing a 17-year-old boy in that song, but loosely. Like you really have to listen hard. It was only singing it at karaoke that made me realize it. But no, it's on 17, da 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 da.
Yeah,
It's all about being
I
an
know the
ugly
song.
duckling at 17 and the awareness and coming of age of
Yeah.
like that life was made for beauty queens,
Right.
and she's singing like a lot of women in the 70s did, like very close on a mic. With
Yeah.
absolutely, of course, no auto tune, no distortion, and so it's beautifully imperfect. Her voice is so good, and the song is so sad, and you can just, it feels like you're right in the room with her. I love that song, and that one is kind of a timeless, like, oh, that's when you have the growing awareness of how the world opens up for beauty, and if you don't fit that standard, the world will not open up to you the same way.
Yeah, yeah. I saw
Yeah.
her in concert, in
Did
my,
you?
like, yeah, like, either in my, like, late 30s, yeah, but, like, I had a friend who, like, was, about, 10 years my senior, and she's like, "Janice Ian, like, isn't that her name? Is it, like, or what
Yeah.
is it?" Yeah. She's like,
Yeah.
she's, she's doing a performance, and it was in the small community theater,
Oh
and it was
wow.
just as powerful. So when she performed it, yeah, it still,
Because she's quite old
resonates.
now. I think
Mm,
that's, but she still sounds amazing.
yeah.
I just pulled up the story here. We can go way back to the Sound of Music. I am 16 going on
For
17.
sure.
I need someone older and wiser telling me what to do.
What was that song? It's sung from a male. It's when I was 17, it was a
Was a
very
very
good
good
year.
year. It's not on my list. It's like a Johnny Mathis sort of era.
Right.
Nat King
But although
Cole.
he is saying he's 17, it was a very good year for small town girls and right? Like, but he's
Yeah.
17 and they're
Oh, it's
17,
Frank.
so
It's Frank Sinatra.
uh,
Um, yeah. I can't believe I didn't put. I'm going to add that to the playlist because it's a song composed by Irvin Drake in 1961 and originally recorded by Bob Shane of the Kingston Trio. Yeah, but Sinatra made it famous before my time, so I didn't think of that one. But we have ABBA, Dancing Queen. Young and sweet, only 17.
mm,
I
Um,
garden to ABBA. That's when I, if when you're weeding, you need joy, and
right,
ABBA
right.
does it
Yeah,
for
you
me.
need something that has a beat to it, right? And
Hmm.
kind of that, complete like upper poppiness
You
oh my
do.
God,
of ABBA.
I I love ABBA forever. Oh, and my one of my all-time favorites, that you'll either love or hate the song or have never heard of it. There's no in between. Nobody's neutral on Paradise by the Dashboard Light by Meatloaf. One
Oh
of
my
my
God,
favorite.
I've heard it. Yes, of
Yes,
course.
because we were
Yeah,
barely 17 and we were barely dressed. The like
yeah,
9 minute opus of them having sex in a car at 17,
yes.
but they're both 17, so it's okay.
Right. I mean,
Even though they're both manipulating each other and they're both 17, so they are they are flawed characters, but it's not predatory.
right, right. And really what they're both grappling with is like the societal attitudes that for young people to be intimate with each other, that they need to get married,
Yes.
which is not, we don't want to go back to that time either, because that creates a
No.
lot of bad marriages and a lot of family trauma.
Right,
Let's
right.
not do
Right?
that either.
Oh
Come
my
on.
gosh. But it is, I mean, there's songs about being 16 and 15, but like 17 is kind of the magical age where there are a lot of songs. And I
Yeah.
think that's why. It's because it's like
Right. Forbidden fruit.
but
Yikes.
just about there. Ew.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. And it is. And I am really, one thing that I am really glad about in this moment is that there's been no outrage really around that, this kind of culture that preys on young people. And I'm glad
Yes.
that this is part of the conversation that is happening. So like I'm here for it because it's long overdue. I feel like the Me Too movement, started, but we didn't really quite get to talking about the layers and nuance until this term,
Yeah.
this horrible time, right, where we really started to like turn over the log and look at what is
Yeah.
happening.
Mm,
Yeah,
100%. And
yeah,
yeah, I think if these songs came out now, oh, there's so many other things in contemporary music that are like, oof. So we
real.
should have you, excuse me, I don't know what's going on with, maybe I'm getting a cold.
Oh
Hmm.
no.
I have no time for that, so I'm just going to suppress it. But we should have you back. Like, this is the thing when I was not brought into this world to talk about politics, but
Mhm.
we have to. But yeah, I'm a memoirist music nerd. We should just do the joyous stuff and have you on to talk about music one
That'd
of
be
these
lovely.
days.
that
That'd
would
be
be
lovely.
amazing.
I would
Oh,
love to join you again. Yeah, absolutely.
oh my
We
gosh,
will
this is
definitely have you back. And thanks for staying a couple minutes long. Sometimes on
Yeah.
Saturdays, we're just like fuck it, it's the top of the hour, but we don't care. We're gonna keep talking.
It's too much fun. I don't know if you can hear the little bings going off. My family is now all awake and like, what are we doing? So I should probably sign off and go greet my daughters and go. I think we're getting a Christmas tree today.
Oh,
Ooh,
wonderful.
I know
Wonderful.
we've been trying to do it since Thanksgiving, and every day there's some reason why there's like, we can't. So I'm like, today I need some cheer in my
Yeah.
house.
God damn it.
God
Yeah.
damn it, I need some goddamn cheer. Yeah,
I
I'm
hope you
kidding.
go get your cheer on.
We are gonna go get cheered on. It was so I love being able to like find someone's writing and be like, this person seems really cool. I want to meet them. And then getting to meet them live with everybody on the chat and having it be like, oh my God, you're even like way cooler in person. So this has just
That is
been
so
so much
kind
fun.
to say.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
so true to say. Thanks to everyone in the chat. If you're still
Thanks for
here,
being here, Weirdo.
nerding out about music with us 11 minutes past the hour.
Right.
We love you all. Mean
Thanks,
it. Thank you
everybody.
so
Thank
much,
you.
everybody. Bye.
Love you,
Bye.
mean it. Bye. Mwah. Mwah.
Mwah.